going to get into reps, Mary Kay, other than to say we're going to continue to mix these guys, and also say I'm trying to be very, we are trying to be very intentional about our quarterback's development, and I'm really pleased with where both our young guys are. They're all working very hard. They're all taking coaching and understanding that this is a progression for them.
All right, D-Wood, how do you think Stefanski should handle this quarterback situation moving forward?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that those other two quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and the other quarterback, they all of a sudden they got healthy. They got real healthy, quick, fast, and hurt, and got back out there, because when you have a guy in Shedeur Sanders that played as well as he did, now all of a sudden the competition is taken to another level. Now, I think he did earn the right to have more reps with the twos and possibly with the ones here. And that's all you could ask for Shedeur in this situation, is that take advantage of the opportunity. He was presented with a unique opportunity, a few days ago, of basically playing the whole game. He played the majority of the snaps, and he really acquitted himself very well.
And no shade to Joe Flacco, of course, but he is 40 years old, so if there is an opportunity for him, he's definitely taking advantage of it. Okay,
can't grow it, and I'm like, I could actually grow it in places that I didn't even take money for.
TJ, what's up, man? You good?
What up, Doc?
I'm watching the Browns. Mike, you're good. Yeah, I saw you already. Glad you're at work. I'm watching the Browns on Friday. And I came away impressed, kind of like everyone else, with Shedeur Sanders. And I got to thinking, TJ, what are we doing? Just go ahead and make him QB1 going forward. What are we waiting for?
Come on, Tom.
We know how this is going to end. You really want 87-year-old Joe Flacco out there if you're a Browns fan? No, nothing about Joe Flacco, all due respect to the comeback player of the year. He is not inspiring or uplifting. Go with the kid, see what you got.
Here's part of the issue. Ultimately, it's up to coaches to play the best guy. Because if you don't play the player who gives you the best chance to win, regardless of what they're being paid, regardless of where they were drafted, regardless of what your plan was, if you don't do that, the locker room is going to know. The locker room is going to know if you're not playing the guy who gives you the best chance to win.
No doubt.
The quarterback is the one position in which you can make a sea change. Here's part of the complication. And this goes for Dylan Gabriel as well as Shedeur Sanders. And I've said it repeatedly on this show. The hardest outcome for the Browns was going to be starting one of these rookies. And there's a couple reasons for that. One being both these guys, based on the style of offense they played in college, and Shedeur probably had more NFL stuff, but we saw Bo Nix last year coming out of that Oregon offense and made a pretty quick transition. Dylan Gabriel, if you're betting the upside on him,
he was a Heisman finalist.
It's that he's mini Bo Nix. Yeah. He's pint-size, nesting doll Bo Nix, right? Like that. With Shedeur, it's that you can quickly get him up to speed and playing on time and understanding the offense. And he did a pretty good job of that. Again, other than the play where he scrambled 30 yards backwards and threw it away on a 4th and 1, for the most part, he got the ball out. You know he's accurate. You know he's tough. You know that he puts in the time and the effort. There were other things that went into it with Shedeur Sanders, which is why he slid. But the other part that makes it challenging here is if you start either of these rookies. And I'm going to say it, either of these rookies, even though everyone's fixated on Shedeur. Dylan Gabriel is still the guy who went in the 3rd round. Right. Sanders went in the 5th. Sure. If you start either of these guys, then at some point, if you have to go away from them, you are, I won't say ending their career, because we've seen Bryce Young come back from a benching, but you are at minimum completely recasting the entire thing. It is way easier to roll with Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, but Pickett's still not even healthy enough to do team drills, so I can't see how he's going to put himself in the mix to start. It's a lot easier to, at some point, go, okay, we're moving from Flacco and going to the rookie, and you get that initial burst. We saw it when Baker Mayfield took over in Cleveland. It was Thursday Night Football, and Tyrod Taylor, who has had the most wild series of ailments that have cost him starting jobs, he gets a concussion on a Thursday Night Football game. Baker comes in, immediately you see the joy. It's a lot easier to do that than it is to start one of the rookies and then, man, we just need to settle this thing down. We're going to put Joe Flacco in now. We're going to put in Andy Dalton for Bryce Young. That's hard. It paid off for the Panthers, probably in ways that they didn't even realize at the time, because Bryce Young did need to go and sit. Not everybody reacts the same way that Bryce Young did, embracing that and leading through the adversity. And I'm not saying that Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders wouldn't. But especially when you consider the cultural phenomenon and the hysteria surrounding everything involving Shedeur, easing into this thing with Flacco and going to Shedeur is a lot simpler than going the other way. You got to play the best guy. You got to play the one that gives them the best chance to win. And let's see, maybe this week, instead of having a bumpy ride against the ones and then making plays against the twos and threes, maybe Shedeur gets to go up against the ones. I don't know if the Eagles are really going to play a lot of their guys, but maybe you get a little bit better exposure. Maybe you get a defense that throws more at you. There's still a ways to go in this thing, even as we want to overreact to what we saw on Friday night.
Of course. All right, let's continue talking about the Jaguars. Let's be honest. It was
the first time that's ever been said on the history of the show, by the way.
Unironically.
The number 2 for Travis Hunter.
Ironically. You know, look, let's be honest. It was an underwhelming debut for the number 2 pick, and ultimately the Jaguars
so down on it.
Will regret trading up with Travis Hunter.
It's a lot they gave up. You're giving up next year's first-round pick. You're giving up, substantial draft assets. You are setting a really high bar. I said this to James Gladstone. I was in Jacksonville a few days ago. I'm like, all your fans now think you're going to be the riverboat gambler. You're going to be trading constantly and dealing first-round picks. And I do think that Gladstone's going to keep being aggressive here. But absolutely, the legacy, as much as, you're talking about legacy 6 months after these guys are hired, but for Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, like, a big part of what you're doing is going to be tied to that guy. Way too soon to overreact. I mean, underwhelming debut. We've never seen the things that Travis Hunter is going to be attempting to do. Nobody's scheming in that first game. You're seeing limited doses of the first string. You're just trying to get his feet wet. And again, they're figuring some things out logistically. Just where does he need to be on the sideline? Who needs to be talking to him? Coaches that normally might grab a guy after the series, before the series, whatever, are now like, oh, nope, he's got to go over and do this other thing now too. There's a feeling out process that has to be taken into account. They have, Liam Cohen has talked to the coaches of Colorado, figuring out how they kind of did things there. Way too soon to say they're going to regret trading up for him. The bar is really high here, especially because, again, Travis Hunter is not just this year's first-round pick. He's next year's first-round pick. Time will tell on this. Let's see the body of work. And it might be bumpier early on just because no one ever logistically has tried to do what they're doing with Travis Hunter.
Body of work? 1 week. Let's react. Come on.
Let's see in real games. I'll be interested to see right out of the gate.
Like you get
Jacksonville's early season schedule.
Of course.
Carolina in week 1. So
here we go. Cover Tet. Let's go.
Let's find out. You want him covering Tet McMillan? You want him being covered by J.C.
Are we calling
Horn?
him T-Mac? He doesn't like Tet, right?
T-Mac, that's right. T-Mac. I interviewed him the other day. And I said Tetaroa, and then he pronounced it the way he pronounced it, and the rest of the interview I called him T-Mac. I'm like, I can't quite roll that vowel.
We know there's only one
T-Mac
there, but TJ, we can call him T-Mac.
And he's good with it. He shouted out Tracy McGrady when Cam Wolf and I sat down with him on NFL Network. He understands where he's at. Really cool kid, by the way. T-Mac is a really cool kid, and he does some really awesome stuff on the field. He's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I kind of want him in fantasy. All right, so we poo-poo Travis. All right, I get it. Look, we're overreacting. Here's one that's not, though, Tom, and I think you'll agree with this. This Micah Parsons